Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I'm here to share with you today one of my passions. Throughout my life, bikes have provided me with transportation, entertainment, freedom, adventure, and excitement. It all started when I was really young. I got my first tricycle probably when I was 3 years old, or whatever age you are when you get your first tricycle. And I used to ride that thing just in circles, just to ride it, just for the pleasure of feeling the motion going over land. And I had a great time. I'd ride up and down the sidewalk, and it was really good. Until I got to the age when most kids get to the age, I got a bicycle. A two-wheeled bicycle, big fat balloon tires, white walls, lights on the front. It was black and chrome. And what this bike did is it expanded my world. It allowed me to go places my tricycle would never take me. I could go to the park, and I could go to school. I could go wherever I wanted to go, so I was a free man. I liked that bike a lot, but I always in the back of my mind wanted a motorcycle. So I put playing cards in the wheels and pretended I was riding a motorcycle. But around 10 years old, I was able to convince my father it was really time for a real bike. So we found a Honda Trail 50, which I'll never forget, in the neighborhood that didn't run. Paid $50 for it, brought it home, and it was a project that my father and I worked on. We tore it down and repainted it and painted it orange and got it back together and it actually ran. And I drove the wheels off it, up and down the alley behind the house until people would take their hoses and spray over the fence at me, trying to give me the clue that I was creating too much dust. So I would go to the grade school and ride it wherever I could. I was in love with my motorcycle. Well, as with most things, it became time for upgrades and more speed and more power. I got a Honda SL 100 used, and I was so excited about it that I wanted to share it with my sister. So I told her, this is the clutch and this is the gas, but I left out the most important thing. I forgot to tell her how to stop it. So she gave it gas like I told her, let out the clutch, and proceeded to go through the block wall in the backyard. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt, but my new motorcycle was about 3 inches shorter. And I felt badly for her, and she felt really badly, but that was the start of my motorcycle adventures. Through the years, I then wanted more speed and ended up getting into racing, and I started racing motorcycles when I was probably about 12. By the time I was 16, I had a pretty good accomplishment in that I was a state motocross champion in Arizona, which was a lot of fun, and that was about the time I was starting high school, so I gave up the bikes for high school and sports. But I still kept my bicycle and my motorcycle because they were my main modes of transportation, and I think back on those days, I would go to my girlfriend's house who lived a few miles away, and if I rode my bike, I just rode the streets. But if I rode my motorcycle, I took the long way through the desert. It usually took me about half an hour to 45 minutes to get there. And it was a lot of fun. And in college, bicycles played a major role because I didn't have a car my first year. One of the things that we needed for our Christmas party was a big Christmas tree for our dorm room because we were going to host a party. So my roommate and I, we decided to go to the mall, which is about, maybe 10 miles away from where we were living down in Tucson, and bought a gigantic tree. And the only way to get it home was on my bike. So I had a bike rack, and we strapped it to the rack and tied it to my back. And it probably towered 4 feet over my head. And riding down the main street, it's called Speedway in Tucson, people were yelling and clapping and applauding that we were riding our bikes with all of our Christmas stuff, including our tree, back to the dorm. When I graduated from college, again, bikes took a backseat as I developed my career. And as I became somewhat restless, I started getting back into motorcycles. And this time, it was street bikes, and commonly referred to as sport bikes. I would have my brother go to the auction and buy sport bikes that had been wrecked by somebody else, fix them up, ride them for a while, and then get a new project. Well, that lasted for a few years, and what that did is really spark my interest in bicycles again. So I started riding road bikes and spent a little time getting involved in some different rides, and then gradually got into racing. So right now, I've kind of come full circle. I started out with a bicycle. I got into motorcycles when the speed and excitement was there. Now that I'm a little older and more conservative, I'm back to riding bicycles, road bikes, and mountain bikes. So starting from tricycles, going into racing, bikes have always provided me with a way to fulfill my passion for freedom, adventure, and speed. Madam Postmaster.